Public Works Committee meeting for December 5th. Counselor Wolverton?
Here.
Counselor Gear? Here. Counselor Sims? Counselor Mills?
Here.
And Counselor, you're on the committee, aren't you?
Yes,
Okay.
I was just.
You're looking for
distracted,
Counselor Harden.
sorry.
Here.
So Counselor Sims is absent,
Yeah,
but
he
you
said
have
he's
full.
on his way from a basketball game, but he.
You have 4 present, so you have a quorum.
Yeah, we're good. All right, can I have a motion to dispense the reading and approval of minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right, motion by Counselor Gear, second by Counselor Nelms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. Old business 2009-22, request for permission to work within the right of way at 1541 Wellington View Road. Mr. Pugh.
I received an email update Friday that said that they asked that the item be carried over until January. They finally met with an engineer, and there are a few things they need to work out before they can get a no adverse impact letter. So
Have they talked
They're working on
any
that.
more with you specifically about any of that as well, or, okay,
no, we're just waiting on something from an engineer.
okay. Yeah. All right,
That's
sounds
their
good.
request.
All right, we'll plan to carry that item over without objection. 04-11-22, request for permission to work within the right of way at 1501 Roseland Drive to remove a pine tree. Mr. Smith, this was carried over the last meeting.
Yeah, this one was carried over last meeting because they wanted to ask Mr. Siegel some questions about the project in general. Just to remind everybody, this tree is in the right of way. They're proposing to take it down, or they're asking for permission to take it down. And the arborist has looked at it and said it's healthy, but there's some other parts of the project that would talk about.
Who looked at it and said what now? Sorry.
It's healthy.
The arborist said it was a healthy tree.
Yeah, okay.
And recommended like y'all did 2 weeks ago, potentially either putting another tree on the property or paying into the tree fund or whatever you determine is a good solution.
The reason we're looking to remove that, it's William Siegel with Twin Construction. We're
Yes.
trying to move the garage doors to the right side to have driveway access on that elevation of the garage. And so the pine's obviously right in the way. And so owner knows that they're gonna pay for the
Do you-
tree.
we have a pointer
You might
scale?
Yeah, there's a pointer right here.
If you don't mind kind of illustrating where I wasn't here a couple weeks ago, the garage is where exactly?
That is the garage that's drawn there.
The whole structure there is the garage.
whole structure is an accessory garage structure.
Uh-huh.
And so they're wanting to save the garage, but right now the garage doors come in on the front facing Roseland.
Sure.
This is actually Linwood or whatever it is. So they want to cut in 2 garage doors right here. To do that.
In the
tree's
side of
obviously
the,
in way.
okay. Is there gonna be, it's not exactly related, ingress egress issues, cut the street or, I don't know if
So
we're gonna have to get
they'll
right
do what they
away.
typically do. They'll just tie in the driveway into Linwood and,
Is that gonna be a separate
potentially
item?
replace that storm drain if they can't.
There's a driveway now that's out almost at the corner there. So they're gonna eliminate that drive and then just have the driveway and the curb cut here, which would be pretty typical.
I guess I was just trying to see if you were gonna have to come back for that later on or
No,
something
no.
too, but,
No.
okay.
Shouldn't.
Curb cuts to access property.
Okay. Okay, great. Was there any further information, I guess, based on what Kale said about, which route we were gonna take, whether we're replacing the tree somewhere else or?
You know what they
or-
wanna do? They wanna put money in the fund or?
That's news to me, so we were just asking permission to take it down. I didn't know there was a penalty to take down a tree. The actual, and that's fine if y'all
Do
want
they
to talk
have
about
enough, do they meet our tree ordinance?
That's what I was gonna say. When we do the construction as part of the permit process, we will, and they will meet. I actually have a full landscape plan that the owner hasn't approved, but it does have a lot of trees remaining and planting new trees, so.
But if it's in the right of way, isn't that the issue that they have to either,
They have to come to us to get it,
they have,
do
well,
an
we've asked
indemnification.
them, we're asking them to put some money in the tree fund or,
It's up to us.
But
Yeah,
the,
And that's what you did 2 weeks ago, was that you had, so the tree doesn't count toward their MTD for that specific project. So what you did 2 weeks ago with the pecan tree
right.
came down,
Right.
the owner proffered to pay $500 into the tree fund.
And does the tree ordinance kind of lead us to that? No?
It's kind of good faith. It was kind of a good faith effort last time.
Yeah, and again, they'll have qualifying trees on their property. It was not the plan of the landscape architect to replant a tree in the alley, because of course it's not their property.
Yeah.
And I did not talk to the owner, because I was not aware that that might be something that came up tonight about paying a fine for that. Again, they're meeting the requirements for their property on their construction. We're just asking to take the tree down.
It does seem like they've got a ton of trees already on their property.
I can't tell what's
That's, if I'm looking inside.
They're big palm trees.
Yeah. This thing scared me to death.
Anybody have any desires or suggestions?
I think we should just move to, send this to council as it is. I mean, if the ordinance doesn't call for the $500, you know, unless we want to set a precedent and do that every time.
Well, there's a fine if you don't ask for permission, right?
Well, they're doing that.
But he's asking
now.
for,
Right. That's what I'm saying. In this case, he's coming to us, and this is not on his property. It's in the city right away.
Tree ordinance only provides for planting trees on private property.
Right.
Not public property, that's our call.
Right.
and I mean, I see a lot of trees in it, I mean, and if it doesn't specifically say that if they take something down in the right of way, that we ask for money going, then my
Yeah,
opinion
I-
is that we give, I mean, I'd like to submit that approval of removing the tree in the
Okay.
right of
I'll
way.
second that.
So motion to approve by Counselor Gear, second by
With
Counselor Harden. All in favor?
indemnification.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
With indemnification.
Yes, with the proper signed indemnification agreement. So that'll be at full council next week. All right. New business 171122, request for permission to work within the right of way at 2510 18th Street South. Mr. Smith.
So, this is the old Golden Nugget site on 18th Street. Everybody's probably driven by there and seen the project happening. And so Tim is with Murray, and he's gonna kind of talk through the access request that he needs.
Yeah, we're trying to sheathe the front side of the building going down 18th Street. We have two options, one to close a lane and divert pedestrian traffic into that lane there, shown over there, with 2 phases totaling in 2 weeks' time. Or our second option, go to that next sheet, is to just close the sidewalk and not encumber any traffic going down 18th Street. About 12 working days.
About how long?
12 working days, just closing the sidewalk.
Similar
So this
to-
is a
10 working
temporary,
days.
you're trying to get help me understand again, you're trying to get a temporary easement.
Yes, sir.
To close
You're
the
saying we got
sidewalk.
2 options?
2 options. One is to close a lane going down 18th Street. Just, we'll set it up about 8 o'clock, 8:30, to kind of avoid the peak hours. And at the end of the working day, about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we'll pull the barricades off the street. For that option, and then the other option is to
Just do the sidewalk.
Just do the sidewalk with temporary barricades.
I think if we have the option to just do the sidewalk, that's probably the better.
To me, I
If you
agree.
could-
Traffic can get, especially in the evening, it can be really bad coming down there. And if something happens, they don't remember it. I think the sidewalk is not that well used,
It's not.
and so
Especially right now with all the construction.
Yeah, I think.
The sidewalk sounds better if you can do that.
I agree.
Will there be any temporary fencing?
Yeah, we will have, just barricades and flagmen. If there's any pedestrian traffic, we'll stop work and allow them to pass along the sidewalk. we're gonna be working off lifts and kind of pulling off the sidewalk as much as we can, so there'll be a narrow path along the sidewalk.
All right, sounded like there was a,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion
Consensus.
to, yeah,
I'll
permission
second
to work
that.
in the right of way.
All right.
Do they do indemnification agreements?
you
with
said
that?
12 working days?
Yes, sir.
And from what day were you hoping to start? So this will go to full council next Monday, so the earliest would be next Tuesday, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll provide a 24-hour notice and start work.
Can it be worded that way, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so motion by Counselor Gear, second by Counselor Harden for approval with the proper indemnification agreement for the sidewalk only closure on this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's 4-0. All right, 18-11-22, request for permission to work within the right of way to plant and maintain vegetation adjacent to 514 Edgeland Place. Mr. Simmons, Mr. Cook, and Mr. Pugh.
You don't have to, because I know you've been feeding, he's from these.
All right, Brian, if you can go to, picture number 1. Is that on? Okay.
Melanie, Counselor Simmons is here.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, this is the picture of the old house before it was torn down. You can see the alley, you can see the alley. This is what it would look like, prior to tearing down the house. You just scan up and see if we can get the next one.
Scroll up, Brian. He's gonna.
Scroll up,
Excuse me.
Brian, can you scroll up?
other way.
Other way.
Scroll down, sorry.
Equal. There you go. All right. This is, again, that's the old house. This is the grown-up alley. Okay, scroll up some more. See what we got here. Let's keep going. Not sure. Okay, right there. Good morning. Okay. This portion of the alley right here is open to the public. It's not used for city services. It's gravel. They came to the city years ago and got permission to do that. This portion right here that goes out, this one goes to Weena. This one right here comes out to Edgeland, and they came to the city council and got permission to gravel that. So we're talking about this portion right here. That is what was grown up. Go to the next one. This is the foundation survey of the new house. The distance from here to here is 5 feet. We've just got 5 feet distance from the house to the edge of the alley. When the property owner, Mr. Simmons here, and he called me up one day to meet about clearing that off back there. And there was a dead tree about that big around back there, and he was wanting to get it removed. It was in the alley. And I said, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. We'll just have to get our crew out here. And about that time, Alabama Power pulls up. They were connecting the service to the temporary, and he strung the line. Mike and I are still talking, and he said, I said, well, they've already connected power there through that tree, so our guys are not gonna get near it to cut it. We'll have to hire it out. And the Alabama Power said, you wanna cut down? I said, sure, it's already dead. So he just took his saw, just as he came down the bucket, just started hacking it off. So we got that cleaned up. So anyway, because it's so tight, Twin Construction and Mike, pretty much use this alley to come around to help build the house, bring in blocks and all. But the agreement was, hey, you got vegetation you kind of destroyed here, we need to put something back. Whether it be grass down, seeded, something back before we issue the CO, which they did. All right, if you want to go to another one, slide on up, I guess. All right, and again, this is the old house. This is where we're talking about. Come on, a little bit more. Again, right in here is where we're talking about. All right, come on. Keep on coming.
Keep
All
on
right.
coming.
So this is the portion from Weena. Okay, and then this is what he has done to the backyard. The alley being 15 feet from here over here.
Yes. So that's the alley right there on
That
this
is the
side of
alley.
the fence?
That's correct. That's correct.
never to be used for any purpose other than.
That's what we're determining.
Oh, well.
We live on the other side
So
of the
let's,
alley.
let's scan some more. Yeah, that's his new house. Keep going. We got some more?
Is this his house?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, this is your house?
It is.
Hoping to show
Okay.
some more,
It is, yeah.
Hoping to show a few more.
Yeah, I think there's one on the front up there.
So you want label 9? Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, so this is what was put in, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago. Gravelled up to this point right here.
That's off Wena.
That's off, Edgeland. Right. So you can see, you know, we've got the house, you can, 5 feet from the house to right in here is the property line. Yeah. So it's very, very tight in there.
So the alley and its air conditioners touch.
Close, but that's not an issue, that's not an issue. All right, so you can see the backyard, you know, the alley would continue right here, it would, you know, be very close, tight back in there. So, so anyway, Mike had asked about, you know, improving this and possibly using it, and we don't encourage it, but we don't discourage it. You saw how grown up it was. We'd rather somebody maintain it as opposed to it growing up and them always calling us, hey, I want you to cut it, because it's in paper alley, we don't maintain it. So that's where we're at tonight. Mike would like to get permission to continue to use that, maintain it. Mike, you got anything to say, or y'all got any questions from Mike?
It's been a good process here. We started in 19 when we purchased a lot. The former owner lived in it for 6 or 8 months. Then we were able to demolish it in like April of 20. And that's when I really started talking to Scott and City about what we could do with that area back there. Nobody was paying any attention to it. I mean, it was grown up terribly. And, I knew I certainly didn't want it to look like that. So we started our conversations, and he told me if you take it out, regardless of what it is, you got to put something back in. So we did, and we came up with this idea, and never thinking anybody would be concerned about it because of the condition it was in when we first started. And I thought, honestly, everybody'd be excited about it, but because it just looked so much nicer than before. So I would like to have your agreement in allowing us to keep this landscaping on this part of the lot right here.
Is that fence on the neighbor's property, or is that a fence that was put up?
Fence is our fence.
Yeah, okay.
So we're here to speak to you after you finish,
Sure.
if that's okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to
Okay,
kind of.
so the landscaping is across what was,
An
grown
alleyway.
over alleyway.
There you
So and it's his functional backyard now.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's captured.
It's not yet, it's still
Okay.
cities, he hasn't,
So
But I mean,
he's
it's
asking for a
the
new.
way, it's the
yeah.
way he's developed it.
Yes.
His
So
backyard.
regardless of what's done and what's put back and all of that, it's a city, right of way, regardless of it being used for, active alley or not. So my question is, are you prepared for this to, you know, I mean, it has to be agreed upon to some, you know, how it impacts other neighbors regardless, you know, of how it's been or what's been there. I'm wondering to know the impact regardless of what was there before and all of that.
What is this impact versus what was there?
Other neighbors, you know,
Not
like.
the neighbors.
On the
You
other
wanna
side.
hear
from other
What if the neighbors want it for their yard?
Well, they had the chance to do it for years
No,
before
well,
we
but you
got there.
did,
Well,
you put it on city right away, you put it in the alley, as
But they
opposed
had
to
the
your
chance
property
to clear
line.
it off.
That doesn't matter,
Well,
that really doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking about giving you this, it's,
Well, you're not giving it to them. You
well,
still own it.
it's
It's really a utility easement more than an alley.
so I guess my main question is, you know, are you prepared to have some kind of consideration for, you know, other uses, or if neighbors, you know, aren't in agreement with this? I mean, do you have compromises? I mean, do you have other options because it's a city right away.
I mean, I've offered to remove a couple of trees for a gate to be able to get out there, and that wasn't sufficient. I mean, so, I mean,
There's no gate.
there's no gate now,
Oh,
but
there's on one of them. I think there's one way up here on this. last-
there is on the very end.
But not
of
on
it.
this.
Right. And there could be a gate right on that end right there, where they could get in and out if that's what they want to do.
Okay, are there other folks here?
Yes,
Yes.
there are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and have
Yeah, so.
one, or if there are a couple, you guys can both come up if you want.
Yeah,
to
we have-
speak.
We're
If you
one
s-
of the two.
If you can sign in.
We already-
They've already signed in.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So we live there and so does our neighbor next door.
Sure.
She does have a gate, which his landscaping is not, now doesn't allow her gate to open. But our issue, when we bought this lot in 2017,
Can you tell me your address?
it's 603, so the one right behind it.
What are your names?
6 Edgerton?
Allie and David Edwards. And then Kathy is 601, she's the house next to that. Kathy does have a gate.
Before we do that though, I will concede, it was an eyesore. The previous
It was.
house was an abomination.
Your house is
And
beautiful,
honestly, one of the
really.
reasons it was never addressed and allowed to grow up is because it was the only thing blocking what should have been condemned really from a state of affairs house before you built a much nicer house on it. So that was the reason that it had never been addressed, because again, it was the only thing blotting blight from our backyard.
Yeah, honestly gave
So-
us a barrier. But
But
our plan when we bought this house, we knew it was an alley. We have a small child. We would love to, and we don't have great parking in front of the house. We have tricycles and bikes and scooters. We planned at some point in time to use this, just like he has, just like our neighbor next door, just like the neighbor 2 doors down the blue house. They all have garages to the alley. Like, we would like to one day be able to use the alley just like all of our neighbors do. And in the short term, you can see that fence doesn't look great. We know we gotta redo that fence the next couple of years. So the plan in the short term would be able to put a large enough gate that we can get our 4-wheeler when we bring it home from the hunting land for the weekend when we need to do something with it. To be able to use it, just like, again, our neighbor to the right of us, our neighbor's 2 doors down with the blue house, and Kathy has a gate and uses it. So when we bought this house, we had every intention at some point in time of using this alley. It was never discussed with us. It was clearly discussed with someone in the city of Homewood, but it was never discussed with us that the plan was to landscape completely across that. That was never told to us. And if you look back in some of his pictures, his variance he submitted to the city the first time included a paved alley. In his variance, he asked for the front setback from you guys last year, 2 years ago when he started this process. Is there anything else you need to add?
Yeah,
or
the only thing
Kathy?
is, even if we didn't put an app, say we didn't have the money to one day put a garage from a marketability perspective and a property value on selling it to someone else, the loss of rear access is something that I'm just really not wanting to accept.
It affects our property value. And again, it was never brought up to us. It was never
Well,
discussed. We want to be able to use it.
I understand that. I was never consulted about putting the gravel drive in anyway, up to this point right here. I mean, and it impacts me more than anybody else because it runs the whole length of our property line. But I never got one call from the builder about doing that. And it just, one day I get a phone call and they said, there's a drive there.
It's in the city right away.
Okay, it's there. Excuse me.
Sorry, I should not have interrupted.
So, I mean, I wouldn't, whatever shakes out here tonight, or with the council or whatever, I would encourage the city to take a really strong look at these paper alleys, if that's what they are, and come up with something so that homeowners are required to take care of that and ensure that they maintain it. I mean, well, if it's a utility easement, you can't build on it, but you gotta maintain it. It's kinda like the front yard.
Yeah, looks great.
I would just encourage the city to take a look at that and try to solve these problems.
Yeah.
Andrew, can
Go
I ask
ahead,
a
Barry.
question,
Yeah.
even though I'm not on the committee?
Sure.
Mike, this harkens me back to my many travails and alleys
Yes.
recently.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Sam answers that.
You have a PhD
Yes,
in
and yeah, I should have a PhD
This
in
this
paper
isn't our
alleys.
first time to run into this.
I'm correct in that every property owner adjacent to a public alleyway, whether it is a usable alley or a paper alley, has the right to access that.
If it's dedicated.
If it's dedicated.
So,
Is this dedicated?
Yes.
Yes, so,
It's on the subdivision.
so if there is a homeowner that is adjacent to that property, that right of way, they should have
They
the
need
right to
access.
access to it.
No, they do have that right, not should.
Yeah, they,
do
no,
have
no,
legal
they, yes,
should have the right to
yes, they
that.
have the right to that, okay.
That's correct.
It's
Yes.
in every city in the country.
Yes.
probably.
So real quick, I'm trying to figure out how, did we ever get an indemnification agreement for the work that has already been performed?
Gravel?
The gravel and all the landscaping
The
that's
gravel,
gone in?
yes, the landscaping, that's what we're here for tonight.
So it's already done.
But it already got
There's no-
done, is what I'm
Because
saying.
They kinda cleared that out, made an improvement, and I told them they had to plant something.
Yeah, we asked him to do something
Yeah,
there
yeah.
to make it look good.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Counselor Quality.
To clarify, so we're not vacating the alley with this request, right?
That's
We're
not what the
simply
request
retroactively
is.
approving the landscaping to go there. So technically, does that not, it's not forbidding them from using that alley today. So if in the future, someone comes along and says, we want to improve this alley from the rock in, they still have the right to access it.
They're blocked right now.
Because then the landscaping would have to be torn out then. Is that not true?
I mean, I guess technically the neighbors, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but they could drive their car up and hug the fence
That's not
line
what
right
I'm
now.
saying. They said they're not ready to use it today. So that's an improvement from what's there or was there. So.
You're saying we're not
harming-
officially-
We're not
yeah.
harming the future by allowing us to stay today, because when they're ready to make their improvements, they can make their improvements. They're not prevented from making any changes in the future.
So in other words, the
Oh,
city's
they're-
not vacating.
Yeah,
Well,
if you make your
right,
this
but
out
I-
today, okay,
That's
now you're
walking
not
a thin
free to
line.
use that property.
But
Or you
what-
get nothing.
Right.
I mean, I think if you approve what he's already done
It's-
without
Right.
going through the
Short-term, it's an
process, to
improvement.
me,
Right.
you're walking a real thin line about.
I don't agree with that approach.
And
Yeah.
also, there's a problem with anything, if properties change hands, people, expect it.
like it is. History
expect
has
that this
set
is-
precedent.
Yeah, setting a precedent, I agree.
I think that you are already blocking access, and regardless of whether they have plans for it today or not,
Doesn't matter.
it also diminishes the value of having that access already present.
Right, and they could change their plans tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't, we're not.
The indemnification clause, like Mr. Waltney pointed out, is either party, city or property owner can void the agreement within 10 days written notice.
30 days.
But I have
30
a
days.
question as to why we would tell them that they need to plant something back in a city right of way.
Cause they
And-
disturbed it.
Yeah.
So they.
But,
You're affecting runoff, you're affecting a lot of different things when you go in on your own and you take that stuff out, then at that point in time, you affect the flow of water and a lot of different things.
There are some practical
So
reasons
there's
for it.
there's some
Mr.
things
Chairman.
in there that.
I get that, but why do they have to be right up against the
I mean,
fence?
I'll say this, I mean, if I don't know who their neighbors are, but I'm their neighbors, I'd wanna look more at that than the weeds and stuff that were growing up.
well, but the point is, the neighbors want access, and it's a general public right of way.
I understand, I'm not arguing that point.
Well, right, but they are.
So, well,
And,
are
and,
they gonna clear it and clean it up?
well,
Yeah.
If I
All right,
could,
any questions?
also, I'm.
Sure.
Sign in.
I'm
Yeah,
Kathy-
just sign in,
Kathy.
state your
Sign
name.
in.
and-
She
Okay.
did. Come talk.
Just stand.
I'm
yeah.
Kathy Fowler, and I live at 601 Morris, I'm neighbors with the Edwards, and it affects my property too. The first 3 houses on that street have full access to the alley, the last 2, our 2 do not now, because it has effectively become his backyard. Where if I were to go out, we do have a gate in our backyard, because we did intend to use the alley. It curves on around and exits out Lena, and we can still go out straight that way. We currently don't have any need to go to the right, but should we, you would be having to either walk through his backyard, or if you were to drive a golf cart or a bicycle, you'd be driving through a grassed, treed backyard. You would not be able to access it. You
But
would
that's
not
the
do-
city's
It
right
is
of way.
beautiful. Yeah, it was.
You're not, but you're not going through his yard. He might have.
I know, that's
he
what
might
I'm
have
saying.
sodded it,
Effectively looks
but
like
it-
it.
Right.
I understand that, but what technically and what is 2 different things. You can drive your golf cart through there.
Well, I
That's
couldn't
city-
because I couldn't get it through the trees, but
That's
in
right.
theory, I get you, I can walk through his
now.
backyard.
I mean, you can walk
And
through
no-
your right of way through there.
Right, and absolutely no ill will towards them. They are, I'm sure, very nice people and have a beautiful house and a beautiful yard, and it does look better. But my concern, while we aren't planning to use it now, as I well know, if we sell our house, there's no telling what the next homeowner may want to do with the back and want access to the alley, and it then does affect us in the future with our property value itself. So we are just joining with the Edwards in opposition to.
No, I mean, I understand, I'm just saying, but it's still the city's right of way, and you can drive your car, you can drive a golf cart through it. It may look like his backyard, but it's not.
You still have the
That's point
right.
I'm
We
making.
also treed
I
over,
understand.
he actually,
It
where
is.
this, where this is, he's put trees across this, so you actually can't fully drive through the right of way. Because he's put, if you go back to the other picture, his trees are right here, across the road. So if I wanted to drive a golf cart, say from Lena to Edgeland, I have no reason to do that, but if I did, I could not actually, because he has put trees across the entirety of the right of way. He has effectively blocked, just like he put trees down the middle of Morris Boulevard. It's essentially the same thing.
Whoa, whoa, I didn't do that.
Well, you didn't. No, he didn't actually do that.
Let's clarify that.
But it's effectively, he has effectively blocked the entire right of way, and again, he's now blocked our ability to utilize the alley, and if it did stand, we would have to pay to get his trees removed, we'd have to pay, that's more money on us, and we did do a demo. And again, at the end of the day, like somebody said, you're setting a precedence, this is a road.
So let me ask a question, because I understand this pretty well.
Yeah.
It's in my world. If his trees were removed, that would basically solve the problem temporarily
Yeah,
for you guys, I think.
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, it looks great. I really appreciate
Yeah, I
what
agree.
what
It
he
was
did,
awful
but,
before.
but I understand property rights very well. So,
Sure.
so if the trees were removed, that's really the issue, is it not?
And we could obviously drive over your beautiful grass.
Well, I mean, you have that right no matter what.
Right, yeah, ultimately.
It's,
the
it's
trees
our
on his
property,
property.
the city's.
Right.
You can access it legally, he can access one side, you have the right to the other side. So,
The
so,
alley would need to be approved before.
oh yeah, you're driving on, I mean, things that have to be changed there. Yes.
So, Scott, let me ask a logistical question. So, if, for example, what's done is done. If for some reason he decides that inside that 15 feet of right of way, he just wants to stop mowing that grass and it grows up, I mean, what's he really requesting? Like, what? It's still the city's property, so what mechanism do we have for forcing maintenance of that right of way
Without
back in?
identification, we have none that I know of. It's a paper alley like we've got all over the city that's just grown up in all kinds of stuff. Like
Right,
that was at
so
one
it really
time.
doesn't do anything. What we're talking about is just,
The identification allows him basically to keep what he's got and maintain it.
right.
And if sometime in the future, whenever that is, if they wanna come and improve that alley, then they could go back to the city and ask permission to cancel the agreement that they've got with Mr. Simmons possibly, and then improve it.
But by the same token, we could also have that indemnification agreement and right of way, work in the right of way approval, have a sketch that doesn't include the trees, and that be the plan it's tied to, correctly?
Yeah, I'm sure he can take the trees out.
I mean, I think it makes sense to have that gravel going all the way through the area that's the city's right
Who's
of way.
gotta pay for it?
But who's gonna pay for it?
Yeah, that has to be paid for by somebody.
Well, he didn't ask to, I mean, he didn't get the proper
Had it,
agreements.
had it been cleared off and cleaned off and maintained, there would never been a question in my mind about going there and planting something. But in the condition it was in, I mean, it looked,
Yeah,
and nobody was cutting it.
but there were different landowners then primarily than there are now. I mean, like you said, it started in 2019. I mean, I bet half those houses along that stretch are different landowners. A lot of those houses have been remodeled. I mean, you can't just expect that it wasn't gonna, that it was gonna stay that way.
But some of these folks have been here since 17, been there since 17, so.
Yes,
Well
but there's
before
been
I
some
bought the
changes.
lot.
Yeah.
But there was no working to try to do that.
Well,
But you know what, here's the thing. In the interest of moving along here, I'll withdraw mine. I'll pay to have all these trees moved over on my side of the line, and I'm gonna build a fence down through there.
That would be,
Okay?
that'd be the best
And
thing.
then that'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all folks are happy, you're happy, I don't know you.
He doesn't have anything to do with this.
So,
You may or may not be
Go back
happy.
to the one where it had the when it was under construction. Can you go back one before? And that, it's the view where,
Right
yeah,
there?
so right there, I don't have the pointer anymore. But where so your line is right there. Where that,
yeah, it comes just to the inside of that
Yeah.
telephone pole.
Okay.
This side of it.
Okay, so that would be where the fence would be. That, and I think
the homeowners over here assume when you're under construction, you got the silt fence up, that's your property line, and that's where you would have put a fence. But, and I appreciate all the work you did.
That's bad stuff.
Is that not?
Well, no, where the silt fence is, no. I mean, it's way up there in the yard. It's right next to the house. You're talking about
He
this
goes
one
up
right
the
there,
Are you
right?
20,
Blackwood.
aren't we looking straight down? Are we looking straight down the alley? In any event, if you're
Yeah.
offering to do that, I think that would make the homeowners very happy. I mean, that's what most people do when they approach an alley like this. If you want to improve it, you want to work with all the neighbors and figure out, like, what can we do to work together so that we can continue to use this, and then we all add to our property values. That's really what
Well,
we typically.
wouldn't you say a reasonable person would see that in the condition it was in and go, man, somebody needs to take care of that? And the city doesn't do that.
Right, and I'm just saying, if I were in your position, I would have gone to all of these owners and I would say, here's what I'm wanting to do. What are your thoughts? You know, will you support this? And
you're right.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's just I agree with you, you are right. I should have done that, but given the condition of that, I thought everybody would be happy. So
Mr. Simmons, it sounds like you're willing to fix, it sounds like to the satisfaction of the people that are here, and
I don't think it's gonna go my way anyway tonight. So it's okay. It's all right.
Sure,
It's fine.
sure.
I just want the city, I want the governing board to look at these kind of alleys so these things don't come up in the future, and make the people responsible who will come up to it to keep half of it clean. Do somehow, because it's an eyesore.
So when we've got property owner with the fence, he's gonna move everything, the tree, put up his fence, who's gonna maintain that?
in between.
Well, I mean, that's always the question.
Talking about,
they
who's gonna maintain
they can work it out. The neighbors can work it out.
We had use for it.
Yeah, but we don't.
Okay, so we won't make.
Well, but it's
And so he's wanting to do that, he's wanting to maintain it.
But Scott, it prevents them from having
And he's saying
access.
he would maintain it, so he needs indemnification.
Well, no, I think, no, not immediately. What we're saying is, I mean, for him to mow the grass in the right of way, I don't think he needs to sign an indemnification agreement for that. But I think the whole point is, we cannot block a homeowner's access to a public alley just because we think it's a good idea. I appreciate the fact that he did all that work, and it does obviously look 1,000 times better than it did before when it was a wild jungle. It still doesn't prevent the fact that these people have the right to access that public property.
I heard that,
End of story.
it sounds like he's gonna put up a fence and move the trees, so
Yeah.
so will you just withdraw your,
Is it
your
motion?
request then, so motion to drop.
Second.
All right, motion to drop by Counselor Sims, second by Counselor
Good
Nels.
talking with you guys.
That looks great.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's 5-0, Melody.
Got it.
All right, and then lastly, 271122, request for permission to work within the city right away along Central at 1722 28th Avenue South.
Yeah, so this is for Hero Donuts and Luca that are going right down here. They are doing a lot of utility taps and putting a stormwater pipe across that Central Avenue into the Griffin Brook Creek storm drainage. All the engineering checks out just fine. Since there is so much work going in, being proposed along Central, an indemnification agreement.
What are they doing?
Yeah, explain again.
Utility taps, stormwater crossing,
Oh, they're trying to
and
get
this
into
curb and gutter down here.
all the stuff that's sitting in Central Avenue.
It's all on the right of way?
It's all in the Central Avenue right away.
So
It's
in
behind
order to get
there.
to sewer, water and all that, you've gotta go onto our right of way to tap that.
Which is common and which is
Yeah.
typically incidental to projects and,
Yeah, but not the other one.
right, not the curb and gutter. And, the storm pipe comes all the way across into the creek. Yep.
But not install curb gutters.
The curb and gutter, it makes sense for the curb and gutter to die here. It's already curb and gutter. What to say, right?
All right, let me make sure I understand.
Install curb and gutter.
Curb and gutter.
What else?
Stormwater infrastructure. Utility taps.
Can I make sure I understand? Central's on the backside of this project.
That's correct.
28's on the front. So they're really trying to, we own Central, they're trying to get into our right of way on the backside of their project, not out into what we call 28th, or some people call Central. Okay, okay.
And Ryan Medley's here with Sain and Associates. She was the engineer on the project, and she can answer.
Y'all might want to get waterworks, fix that leak.
Well, you know, kind of related to that, Berkeley, is there anything, you know, that we should be looking at the same time as this is mobilized, in regards to isn't the Apple project in this same area? Or is that?
It is, yeah, it comes right through here.
And is there any impact on that project? I mean, I guess not in the
what
future,
they're-
really.
What they're proposing does
It's all
not impact that
underground.
project.
Okay.
Is this a case where they'll be putting in underground retention things, or?
No, they aren't putting in any underground detention system.
And I'm sorry, are they, there's no new construction, or is there? It is all new construction right there, is that
Yes,
right?
It's all new construction.
And where,
all
what was currently in this location?
All those buildings
So
that
it
are
was
right there.
previously there was, the Valley Mall,
Okay.
development.
Yeah.
And that has been torn down. So,
Okay.
these two new restaurants can be built there.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
everything on this plan, it's in the right of way, you approve.
Yes.
And what is the estimated timeframe for the project, for the work?
We hope to be under construction beginning of January, and it's gonna probably take 6 to 8 months to build both projects.
Okay. And then, again, just with the Apple project, didn't we approve some capital for this year and that? No impact?
We did, and, so the design for that project will start probably about January.
Okay, for design.
Yep.
So.
That one's gonna be really slow moving.
Okay, all right, so we should be fine as far as any.
Yeah,
other-
contractors won't, they'll be gone.
Long gone, okay, thank you.
And like you said, it shouldn't impact those plans at all, once it's put up, okay. All right,
I'm just curious about this, the stormwater runoff, is that just from the roofs, or just from the buildings that are gonna be piped down, or what, where will?
So that, comes from some of the roof drainage as well as some parking lot drainage, from the development.
Okay, and the old parking lot drainage, how was that draining? Was that draining toward the street,
That was
or?
pretty much all sheet flowing to the street, and so by having these inlets in place in this new storm pipe, that reduces what's sheet flowing to Central.
But it'll be increasing what's going into the creek?
Yes, it all went to the creek before it goes that way now.
Eventually.
It's just more.
And they're reducing it used to be 100% impervious, and now with the addition of some landscaping, the reduction is.
Okay.
is a
So there's an improvement there, a little bit?
there is some soundscape, is what you're saying?
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
plan?
There is some landscape, yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to, allow that work in the right of way to.
All right, motion by Counselor Nelms,
Proper identification agreements, I'm willing to second.
second by Counselor Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The indemnification agreement.
Pending the proper indemnification agreement, yes. All right, 271122 is passed. We stand adjourned.